Jets have gone final in Seattle, and it's all said and done. New York, with the loss, out of contention. 23-6 is your final as Geno exacts his revenge, 18-29 for a $183 and 2 touchdowns against his former team. Seattle drawing to an even 8-8 and keeping their playoff hopes alive. Bryant, McFadden, Ryan Wilson in the mix to break this one down. No one has done a better job of outlining the story arc of Geno Smith this year than our Ryan Wilson. So with that, Ryan, he gets the revenge win over his former team, an unceremonious end to the start of his career there in New York. What'd you make of this 60 minutes of football for Geno?
Joe, I think he deserves a Eugene Cyril Smith III for his performance today. There were some shaky moments, no doubt about it, but you're exactly right. He continues to play at a level that exceeds most of our expectations. That's why he didn't ride his back, and he has kept the Seahawks' playoff hopes alive and in the process ended the playoff hopes of the New York Jets. So this is a great story for Geno Smith. I mentioned it last segment. He's on a one-year deal. It'll be very interesting to see what the Seahawks want to do with him. They're going to have the 3rd overall pick in large part, or exactly because of the trade for Russ Wilson to the Broncos, and they're obviously struggling this season. I don't know if you take a quarterback there. I think it makes more sense to bring Geno back based on the way he's played. I think what you do is you bolster that defense, which has struggled at times this year, at least with the front 7. We've seen B-Max guy Tariq Woolen absolutely ball out, and he's been a huge part of their success on the back end. But I think as far as Geno's concerned, Tyler Lockett, Ken Walker was a great get as a second-round pick at the running back position, DK Metcalf, of course. There are a lot of reasons for optimism. They drafted 2 offensive linemen who are starting if you're in Seattle, and I think it starts with the way Geno's played. And my takeaway is that I think you re-sign him, and it'll be fun to watch exactly how much money he wants, because he certainly earned a new contract.
Yeah, I think the future is extremely bright for the Seahawks based on some of the young players they've been able to add and based on the production. Now you look at some of the resources moving forward. When you look at the picks they have also, no question. But it's all about hitting on the quarterback position. So, Ryan, I'm right there with you. I think it's in the team's best interest to bring Geno back. And if you want to draft a young guy throughout at some point in this upcoming draft, that's okay. But I think he has done everything you would want your quarterback to do, plus more in regards to coming back and getting a nice contract because he's deserving. So, and what I like from this team offensively, what I saw today, when Kenneth Walker is running the football, when he's productive, they're at their best. They're balanced. Geno Smith does not have a lot of pressure on his plate. He was very, very accurate today. And they just made they made timely plays against a very, very stout, physical defensive unit in the New York Jets. So great game for Geno. Joe, you talked about the revenge factor, keeping his team playoff hopes alive, and basically putting the Jets in the grave in regards to their playoff hopes.
Geno finally wrote back, and it comes against his former team here. It's been quite the season, and I know it begs the question of what they do with the quarterback position moving forward. Geno still has an opportunity to put positive tape out there depending on what happens. It could be in the playoffs. I want to talk about the quarterback situation in New York right now because it's been a revolving door. I know some Jets fans thought that Mike White would be the great hope here and the answer to that question, but this is in no way a determining factor, Ryan Wilson, but you are our draft expert. Is this the type of team that should be looking to move up in the NFL draft, to draft some of that young talent, perhaps that we saw just passed on Saturday?
Joe, you missed an opportunity. That was the perfect time to say the great Mike White hope, but it didn't work out for Mike White today. So it makes you wonder, what are they going to do draft-wise? Because, look, maybe it's the ribs. We don't know. But he didn't look quite like the person that took over for Zach Wilson and balled out for the most part. But I think your larger point is the correct one. Mike White isn't the long-term answer in New York. And right now they're picking inside the top 15. And I can imagine with great certainty that they're thinking long and hard about this quarterback class because – let's be honest, they missed on Zach Wilson. And perhaps another team would have taken him early had the Jets not, but he landed in New York. It hasn't worked out. Is 2 years too soon to give up on a franchise quarterback? Yeah, it is. But also the case, we've seen Zach Wilson, underperform every opportunity he's been given, and it doesn't feel like it's going to change. When Chris Strebler came in last week, and let's be honest, he is not going to throw for 4,000 yards over the course of an 18-game season, that team stepped up the way it's played once Zach was benched. So I think they're thinking about a quarterback, and I think you have to think about drafting one. If they're gun-shy in terms of taking another quarterback with a top 15-ish pick, maybe they visit the free agent class we just talked about that could be led by, of all people, Baker Mayfield. So we'll see how that unfolds. But I think whatever happens, and the Jets season is effectively over in terms of playoff hopes, whatever happens over the course of the offseason, once September 2023 rolls around, I feel quite certain in saying that Zach Wilson not only will not be the starting quarterback, he probably will not be on the football team.
I feel like the Jets would never become a relevant playoff contender until they answer the question at the quarterback position. That is what held them back, outside of injuries, the key contributors. But the quarterback position is what held them back. They had a playoff-like defense. They had everything offensively in regards to skill position players that you should be able to find a way to get into the playoffs. But because of the lack of production at the quarterback position, no, they will be finding themselves watching just like all of us. So what I would advise the New York Jets to do is, historically speaking, you haven't been good in drafting young quarterbacks. Let's just keep it real. Embrace your flaws, understand your flaws, and find a way to move around those flaws. So why don't you go get a guy who has been proven to be a consistent player at the quarterback position? Via free agency, Ryan just gave us a laundry list of quality names that may be available. Go get one of those guys. Make your fan base happy. Give them a reason to be excited about what will happen. And I understand you might talk about, well, look at the Broncos and look at Russell Wilson. Look at everything they did to go get Russell Wilson. It happens. Just roll the dice. If you never roll the dice, you never hit it. You get the lucky 7. So go get you a veteran guy. And another name, Ryan, that you didn't put on your laundry list that could be available based on how aggressive a team might want to be. What about Lamar Jackson? What about Lamar Jackson? Because if they couldn't get an extension done with Lamar Jackson, they probably would try to franchise Lamar Jackson. I understand it's going to take a handsome ransom to go get him, but I will be willing to give the Ravens that handsome ransom to go get Lamar Jackson if I'm the New York Jets.
Lamar Jackson officially on Ryan Wilson's list. That excitement for Jets fans will have to wait another year as the longest playoff drought in the NFL moves to 12 straight seasons. Guys, appreciate you.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.